Suryadev came, and when Suryadev told her the purpose of his coming, then she became very worried and afraid and embarrassed. So then Surya said, fine, since I can understand your situation, so you'll give birth to a child, but your virginity will remain intact. And the child was born through her ear. And that's why that child got the name Karna, because it came from the ear. So, and she was naturally very embarrassed that at that condition she already gave birth to a child. So, praying to the Lord and praying to the sun god Surya Dev that you please take care of this child. She put the child in a pot and put the child in the river Jamuna. And so then in due course of time, she got married to Pandu. Now, Pandu also was the younger brother of Dhritarashtra. According to the Vedic understanding, the eldest son becomes the successor to the property of the father. In the Vedic culture, the property was not divided as such. You can see what a wise custom it was, because we see when, no matter how wealthy a person is, when this property becomes divided among the offsprings, then after 2-3 generations, it becomes totally insignificant. I mean, in India we see that some families, they were so illustrious, few generations back, so wealthy, but their descendants are practically very, very simple and poverty-stricken in many cases. So the Vedic culture is that the eldest son becomes the king. So Dhritarashtra was meant to be the king, but Dhritarashtra, because he was blind, he couldn't become the king. So Pandu became the king, and he was extremely noble, extremely righteous, extremely powerful. And so he started to rule the kingdom. And Bhishma arranged for Pandu to get married to another girl. She was the daughter of the king of Madras, Madraraj, which is Tamil Nadu now. And her name was Madri. So Pandu got married to these 2 wives. And once Pandu was hunting, and at that time, a sage and his wife, assuming the form of a deer and a doe, were involved in sexual act, and Pandu killed that, thinking that to be a deer. He shoot an arrow, and the deer was killed. But then the deer assumed his form as a sage, rishi, and so while dying, he actually gave a curse that since you killed me at a time like this, when you unite with any woman, you are going to die. So receiving that curse, Pandu actually left the kingdom, because the atmosphere of the palace and the surroundings was so opulent and so provocating and so enticing that he decided to leave the kingdom and went to Badarik ashram. And he was spending his time with the sages, leading a saintly life in order to remain away from any kind of material provocation. And he was there with his wife. Then unfortunately one day during the springtime in India is a time when the lusty desires increase due to the arrangement of the nature. And in one such spring day, Pandu became so irresistibly attracted to Madri that he, forgetting about everything, about the curse, and that shows that how overwhelming the sex desire can be. Like, although he left everything in order to stay away from that provocation, but due to that urge, he just left his body. And so then, in the meantime, yes, like Pandu himself couldn't give birth to the children, so Pandu was lamenting. So then one day Kunti actually told Pandu that she had this possibility of calling a demigod to have a child. So Pandu was very happy to hear that. And it was decided that the first they would call Dharmaraj, Jamraj. And as a result of that, Yudhishthir was born. Then Pandu wanted to have another son, and Kunti called Vayu or Pavandev and got Bhim. And Pandu wanted to have another son, so this time she called Indra, and Arjun was born. So in this way, these three brothers were born. And when Pandu requested, then Kunti said, I had enough. 3 sons are enough. But maybe Madri can have a son. So Kunti told Madri the mantra to call the demigods, and this time Madri actually called Ashwini Kumar, the 2 demigods, those who are twins, and they're always together. And as a result of that, she got Nakul and Shahadev. So this is how the 5 sons were born. And then Pandu, as I said, like Pandu died. And so now the consideration was that who would accompany Pandu. So this is another thing, like we can see that how deep used to be the love between husband and wife. So both of them felt that they would go, and the consideration was at least one of them have to stay to take care of the children. And Kunti's claim was, I am the elder wife, I am the principal wife, therefore I have the right to go with him, meaning entering into the funeral pyre and give up her body. But Madri reasoned or showed her claim, being Pandu left because of her, and Pandu's desire was not fulfilled, therefore she should be the one to go with him. And besides that, Kunti has 3 sons and she had 2 sons. Therefore, it is rather appropriate that Kunti should stay to take care of the children. And so Madhuri actually accompanied Pandu, which is called Sahamaran, leaving the body along with the husband. And so then the sages brought the children and Pandu and Madhuri to Hastinapur, the kingdom of the Kuru dynasty. So now Dhritarashtra, you see, that's another thing about the Vedic culture. The names are given according to the characteristic of the person. Like from after someone is born, then his horoscope is made. And that horoscope actually depicts the characteristic of the person, what kind of a person he would be. And accordingly, the name is given. So Dhritarashtra, meaning that one who is holding on to the Rashtra or kingdom. He is not qualified, but still he is trying to hold on to it. So that was Dhritarashtra's nature. Because of being blind, he could not become the king. But deep down, he has such intense desire to become the king and hold on to that position. So when Pandu, being cursed that way, left the kingdom, Dhritarashtra became the king. His desire was fulfilled. He was blind, he could not actually conduct the royal affairs, but on his behalf, Bhishma was actually ruling the kingdom. But still, he was the king. And Bhishma, although his senior, his uncle, but Bhishma was his acting as his representative and a servant, so to say. And so when Kunti came back, then Dhritarashtra's desire to hold on to the kingdom was shattered. Also, Dhritarashtra was hoping that his son will be older and he would become the successor to the throne. But before Madhuri could give birth to her 100 children, Kunti gave birth to Yudhishthir. So in that way, Yudhishthir actually became the legal successor to the throne. And as a result of that, when they came to Hastinapur, animosity, a kind of rather hidden animosity began to develop in the mind of Dhritarashtra and his sons headed by Duryodhana. And they started to create so many difficulty for Kunti and the children. When they were children, Duryodhana tried to kill Bhima. Bhima was very powerful. But you can see that they were trying to harm, but by Krishna's mercy, those difficult situations are becoming favorable to them. Like he gave poison to Bhima and to kill him, and tied him by hands and feet when he became unconscious and put him in the river. And Bhima's body, being carried in the river, went to the lower planetary system where the snakes are, and his body fell on the snakes. Those were playing, and they started to bite him. And this, the poison that was given to Bhima, the snake bite became the antidote, and he came back to his senses and he started to kill all the snakes. The news actually reached to the king of the snakes, Vashuki, and he came out with his ministers and he saw this human boy, and they recognized that this was Bhima. In a way, they also related to, Bhima was related to Vashuki, and So they very happily took him to the palace and gave him nectar to drink. That's in the lower planetary systems also they have some nectar. So Bhima drank 7 pots of nectar and he slept for 7 days. And when he woke up, he developed the strength of 10,000 elephants, 10,000 mad elephants. So they wanted to harm Bhima, but Bhima actually became even more powerful and came back. And so they were suspecting that something must have happened and Bhima must have been killed. But when Bhima came back and told what actually happened, they became very worried and they decided not to tell anything to anybody what actually happened, that the children, that Bhima was given poison. So the point is that Kunti had been going through so many difficulties along with her sons due to the envy of her own brother-in-law, who was superior to her, senior to her, and the Pandavas were exposed to all kinds of maltreatment from their cousins. And anyway, so the point is that Kunti's life, when we see, she had been going through so many difficulties right from her childhood. She was married, she was a princess. She was married to a king, an illustrious king, an extremely powerful person. But she could not really have the relationship like that of a wife with him for a long time. And then he died. The children became the objects of envy of all their family members, where they were growing. Actually, in the palace in Hastinapur, they were constantly they were growing up in constant fear because they all were surrounded by enemies. And they had the control, because Dhritarashtra was the king. And eventually Duryodhana became the king. And you can also see, at one time, they were tried to be assassinated in a house to be lit, to be destroyed in fire, and they wanted to kill them in that fire. But Vidura actually had been their savior all the time, and advisor and well-wisher. So due to Vidura's advice and arrangement, they could escape from there by digging a tunnel, and they actually set the house on fire. And the Purochan, the minister who was actually supposed to burn them, he died and they escaped. And anyway, so I'm sure all of you have read Mahabharata, and so you know about all those anecdotes. But I just wanted to point out how Kunti suffered time and time again. But she was very fortunate to have Krishna as her nephew. And she also had 5 illustrious sons. And that is how, in spite of all the apparent difficulties, she was always being taken care of. So it's now coming to the prayers. I'm coming to the prayers of Queen Kunti. I'll just read one part from that book, The Prayers of Queen Kunti. Just in the introduction, one paragraph I'll just read, and then I'll read a few of the prayers of Queen Kunti and discuss about them. As they appear in the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Queen Kunti's celebrated prayers consist of only 26 couplets, verses 18 through 43 on the 8th chapter of the first canto. Yet they are considered a philosophical, theological, and literary masterpiece. The present book, Teachings of Queen Kunti, includes those inspired verses and an illuminating commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and renowned Vedic scholar and spiritual leader. In addition to this commentary, originally written in 1962, Teachings of Queen Kunti contains further explanations that Srila Prabhupada gave in a series of lectures delivered in the spring of 1973 at ISKCON centers in New York and Los Angeles. At the time, he analyzed the verses in significantly greater detail and shed even more light upon them. This book offers the reader a deeper look into what it means to live immersed in a spiritual life and opens a window into the thoughts and experiences of both Queen Kunti and Srila Prabhupada to elevated practitioners of the yoga of devotional mysticism. So this is the introduction, a part of the introduction. And so I'll just go to the translations of those verses. It's beginning from text 18 of the 8th chapter of first canto. Srimati Kunti said, "O Krishna, I offer my obeisances unto you because you are the original personality and are unaffected by the qualities of the material world. You are existing both within and without everything, yet you are invisible to all." So, although Krishna is her nephew, but Kunti had a clear understanding that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So time and time again, Prabhupada actually pointed out that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead all the time. Like he's always the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He didn't have to become the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is not that Kunti was treating him, although he was her nephew, she did not treat him like her nephew. She always treated him as the Supreme Personality of Godhead because she knew that, and mainly because she was a devotee of Krishna. So it takes a devotee to recognize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they act accordingly, submitting themselves to him. Next verse. Being beyond the range of material, being beyond the range of limited sense perception, you are the eternally irreproachable factor covered by the curtain of deluding energy. You are invisible to the foolish observer, exactly as an actor dressed as a player is not recognized. So Krishna's pastimes are like a drama. The meaning of the pastimes is the like drama enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He acts in that way in order to give pleasure to his devotees and in order to annihilate the demons. Mainly, the Supreme Personality of Godhead comes to this material nature and enacts his pastimes to give pleasure to his devotees. He literally drowns the devotees in an ocean of ecstasy. Iti driksha lilabhir ananda kunde shabhosham nimajjantam akhapayantam. Performing his pastimes in this way, the Lord drowns his devotees. Nimajjantam, ananda kunde, in an ocean of joy, ocean of ecstasy. So that is the main purpose of his coming to this planet, this material nature, to give pleasure to his devotees. And also we see, like sometimes it seems that the devotees are undergoing so many difficulties, like Kunti Devi. But eventually we'll see that she's inviting these difficulties because these difficulties enables them to become more intimately related to the Lord. Because when we are enjoying in this material nature, then our senses and our consciousness is simply dragged towards the enjoying spirit or enjoying objects of this material nature. But difficulties actually causes us to withdraw our senses from the objects of the sense enjoyment and depend more upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the advanced devotees do not want enjoyment in the material nature. Rather, they invite suffering, because during the time of suffering, they can remember the Lord even better. You yourself descend to propagate the transcendental science of devotional service unto the hearts of the advanced transcendentalists and mental speculators, who are purified by being able to discriminate between matter and spirit. How then can we, women, know you perfectly? Even the great sages, great saintly personalities, exalted thinkers and philosophers are bewildered by your acts, by your illusory energy. Now, how can I, a woman, recognize you and know you perfectly? Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherdmen of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. My dear Krishna, your Lordship has protected us from poisoned cake that was given to Bhim, from a great fire, from cannibals, from the vicious assembly, from sufferings during our exile in the forest, and from the battle where great generals fought. And now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. So this actually happened. Kunti is actually praying to Krishna. Krishna is about to leave for Dwarka because demons have been killed. Yudhishthir Maharaj have been established in his kingdom. And so Krishna is about to leave. And then Uttara came running, that she could see that Brahmastra is approaching to destroy her womb. And so when she approached Krishna, falling at his feet, begging Krishna to protect the womb, she said that even if I have to die, but please save the child. And then Krishna actually protected her and Parikshit Maharaj, who was in her womb. So that's what Kunti is saying, that and now you have saved us from the weapon of Ashwatthama. I wish that all those calamities would happen again and again, so that we could see you again and again. For seeing you means that we'll no longer see repeated birth and death. So this is the reward of being Krishna conscious. One becomes free from the possibility of coming back to this material nature, repeated birth, samsara chakra. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. So that is a condition, either or. Either you stay in the material nature or you desire to get Krishna or be with Krishna. In that respect, it has been, an example has been given that you cannot move with 2 feet on 2 different boats. Like you have to decide which one you are going to be on. So either in the material nature or in the spiritual nature. So if you want to be with Krishna and become, approach Krishna and become his devotee, then one has to become materially exhausted. Give up all attachments to the material nature. And one may say, well, I mean, then what hope do we have? Like, because we still have material attachment. Doesn't matter, because we are in the practicing stage. In the perfected stage, it will happen. But we are in a practicing stage, so don't worry. We have the process. Continue to practice this process. And this practice will lead you to perfection. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feelings. So these are the results of pious activities. The pious activities give enjoyment in the material nature. But here, Kunti Devi is pointing out that these pious activities are actually, the results of the pious activities can become an impediment to approach Krishna. And the results of the pious activities are Janma, Aishwarya, Shruta, Shribhi. Birth in aristocratic family, possessing great opulence, having great learning and wisdom, and physical beauty. So these can be an impediment to Krishna consciousness. So that's what she is pointing out. That those who are attracted to them, or those who are aspiring for that, for them, they cannot possibly approach you. My obeisances are unto you, who are the property of the materially impoverished. Yes, Krishna is the property of those who are materially impoverished. You have nothing to do with the actions and reactions of the material moods of nature. You are the self-satisfied, and therefore you are the most gentle and are master of the monists. O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities, or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. O Gadadhar Krishna, our kingdom is now being marked by the impressions of your feet. So the place to be marked by Krishna's lotus feet, the place where Krishna has walked, becomes the place of great good fortune. And therefore, it appears beautiful. And when you leave, it will no longer be so. Now that you are in Hastinapur, now that this land is getting the fortunate marks of your lotus feet, it's so beautiful and so prosperous and so endowed with all good fortune. But when you leave, all of them will disappear. O Lord of the universe, soul of the universe, O personality of the form of the universe, please therefore sever my tie of affection for my kinsmen, the Pandavas and the Vrishnis. So she is begging that please sever all these familial affections and bonds that I have created, being here with my children, with my relatives. So please sever all those attachments so that I can be fully committed unto your lotus feet. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. Yeah, that is the prayer of a pure devotee. Let my entire consciousness be drawn only to you and not to anything else. And that is the meaning of Krishna consciousness. O Krishna, O friend of Arjun, O chief among the descendants of Vrishni, you are the destroyer of those political parties which are disturbing elements of this earth. Your prowess never deteriorates. You are the proprietor of the transcendental abode, and you descend to relieve the distress of the cows, the brahmanas, and the devotees. You possess all mystic powers, and you are the preceptor of the entire universe. You are the Almighty God, and I offer you my respectful obeisances. So this is how the prayer of Queen Kunti ends. I just selected a few verses and just to give the essence of the prayers. And ultimately the bottom line of the prayers is that let me surrender unto Krishna. Let Krishna be the only object of my attraction and attachment. Because we have two being in the Tatastha, being the marginal potency of the Lord, we have the opportunity or prerogative of being either in this material nature or in the spiritual nature, either in the illusory energy or inferior energy of Krishna or in the superior energy of Krishna. Unfortunately, we have fallen in this inferior energy due to some unknown reason, not quite unknown reason. The reason is quite known actually, because we turned our face away from Krishna. We wanted to enjoy independently without Krishna. Therefore, Krishna made this arrangement. Okay, you want to enjoy without me? Go ahead and see what happens. And today we are seeing what this material nature is like, and especially now that we have been exposed to Srila Prabhupada's teachings. Now we know what is what. And that is our good fortune, that we know the nature of this illusory energy of the Lord, and also we know the advantage of being with Him in the spiritual world. Here, whatever we are trying to get, no matter how hard we try, we'll never get that. Our expectation is to get only three things. Ultimately, all our desires come into these three specific desires. No one wants to die. We want to know everything, and we want to enjoy uninterrupted enjoyment. We want to experience uninterrupted enjoyment. But these three things are not available in this material nature. Although these are our most earnest cravings, but we'll never get them in this material nature, just as we'll never be able to quench our thirst running after a mirage. No matter how fast and how much we run after a mirage, we'll never be able to quench our thirst, because it's giving us the impression of water, but the water is not there. Similarly, no matter how much we try to have immortality full of knowledge and uninterrupted joy, we'll never get that in material nature, because they are not there. Therefore, we have to turn our face. We are running after a mirage. Now, if we really want to quench our thirst, then we have to go to where the water is there. And especially when a person comes in the middle of the desert and tells us that, look, that's a mirage. There's no water there. It's hot sand. It's fire. It's not water, it's fire. But if you want to quench your thirst, you need water, and the water is there. And He shows us the way. And if we believe in Him and follow Him, then yes, we will come to not only an oasis or a well of water, we'll come to an ocean of nectar. And that is the personality who Srila Prabhupada is. We were in the middle of this desert of this material nature, running after a mirage, life after life. And then Srila Prabhupada came and said, that's a mirage. Come, real water is there. And then, not only that, he shows us the way of where the real water is. He pulls out a bottle of water and gives it to us and says, drink it now. So, I mean, how can we not trust him? He has the water. We are seeing that. He's making us drink that water. So we know that he is going to lead us to that real reservoir of water. So through all these prayers from all these exalted spiritual personalities like Queen Kunti, Kapil Dev, Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, I mean, we are getting the perfect understanding. And now it's a matter of just follow the process with full conviction. That is the thing, like now we got it. Now let's take full advantage of it. That is what is needed. That's what is expected from us. We got the way, we got into, we have the opportunity to move towards that direction that will lead us to that ultimate destination of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Now we have to simply keep moving in that direction and not deviate ever. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Kunti Devi Ki Jai. All glories to Mother Kunti. All glories to the prayers of Queen Kunti. Hare Krishna. So, if anybody has any question, please ask. And exactly at 5:30, that means your time will be London time, 1 o'clock. I have to go because I have a conference call coming at exactly at 1 o'clock your time. So we have about 14 minutes. So what happened? Who is monitoring? Huh?
I think I've been unmuted. I think I raised my hand. That's a Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry, my video isn't really working, so I won't be able to turn that on. But
can you switch on your camera?
It's actually not working for some reason. I don't know what the problem is. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's all right.
Thank you for your talk today. My question was, as we speak about the Mahabharata, we know Krishna's devotees like Arjun and Queen Kunti, they obviously had the advantage to be able to physically see Krishna and communicate with him, but we, for obvious reasons, don't have the advantage to do that. So how do we as devotees, like in this age, be able to have complete faith in Krishna and detach from material desires alongside doing our duties, like our daily duties? We go to work, we go to school.
Yeah.
How do we find that balance, and how do we keep our faith?
Yeah, very good. See, just seeing Krishna is not that important, because Duryodhana also was seeing Krishna.
Yeah.
But how was he seeing Krishna? He saw him as an enemy, although he was there, and he had the good fortune of even seeing Krishna's universal form. Still, he would not surrender to Krishna. Yeah. So seeing with our eyes is not important. Seeing with our intelligence is what is important, right? Accepting him, hearing about Krishna, reading about Krishna, that is what is important, and that actually leads to develop devotion or love of the heart. And that is how one actually sees Krishna. Now, I'm sure you know that prayer or of Lord Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. When your eyes become anointed with love, then only you will be able to see Krishna in the core of your heart, right? So the qualification to see Krishna is love. And when one develops that love, even though one may not see him physically, but internally he will see. Okay, so don't worry about that. Develop your love, and when you develop your love, you will see that automatically that attraction towards Krishna will grow, and detachment to the material objects will also develop. Bhakti parishani bhava biraktir annatra cha. As your devotion develops towards Krishna, you automatically or naturally become biraktir. Birakti actually means disgusted with all these material things. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yeah. Haribol. Okay. Yes, I got it. Yeah, that's the difference between Kunti and us. Right? When you reach that level of heart, level of devotion, yes, then only it will happen. So let us recognize the fact that, she is in a very, very exalted position. And as I said, the ultimate consideration is the degree of love for Krishna. The question automatically arises, did I develop that kind of love for Krishna? So let me try to develop that love. All right. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, Khushbu.
Thank you so much for your wonderful class, Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, Guru Maharaj, my question is that yesterday you told that when one is doing the Vedi Bhakti and is following completely, then he goes to Vaikuntha. And when one follows the Raganuga Bhakti, then one goes to Goloka Vrindavan. But at the same time, we have heard that once we have completed the Vedi Bhakti and then suppose we die, so we take another birth in such a family, then we can progress to Raganuga Bhakti as well. So how?
I don't know where you got that, but I'll just explain what is our understanding, right? And our good fortune. Did you understand the meaning of the word Raganuga Bhakti? Okay, Raganuga Bhakti, the residents of Vrindavan are known as Ragatmika Bhakta. Those who are, their relationship with Krishna is simply based on love, right? Not even due to the awareness of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All they have is just love for Krishna. And their mood is, even if Krishna is not the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or even if Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we can't help but love him. Right? So that is called Ragatmika Bhakti. Rag Atmika. And Anugo means to follow. So when you follow a Ragatmika Bhakta, then you become access to Vrindavan. Right? Now, the one important point is that Rupa Goswami is saying in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that one must render devotional service following Vaidhi Bhakti. Otherwise, it will simply create disturbance. Shruti, Smriti, Puranadi, Pancharatra Vidhing Bina, Oikantiki Harer Bhaktir Utpatoiva Kalpate. If the devotional service very earnestly rendered, but not following the scriptural injunctions or vidhi, rules and regulations, it will simply create disturbance. So in a way, it is saying the devotional service should be rendered following rules and regulations, or devotional service should be rendered through Vaidhi Bhakti. Right? So one should be following Vaidhi Bhakti, and by following Vaidhi Bhakti, when one achieves perfection, he'll go to Vaikuntha. Then how can one go to Vrindavan? Right? To solve that problem, Krishna himself came as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Right? Now, who is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Krishna in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Right? So, when you follow Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, following the rules and regulations of the scriptures, right? Who are you following? You are following Radharani because he is Radharani. Therefore, like Vaidhi Bhakti is automatically being transferred or transcend, or rather transformed into Raganuga Bhakti, and one is getting access to Vrindavan. Like an example, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was discussing with Ramananda Roy, at the height of that question answer session with Ramananda Roy is seeing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Radha Krishna. And when one sees Radha Krishna in place of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where is he? He is in Vrindavan. Therefore, you don't have to take another birth. Just follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and your ultimate destination will be reached. Okay? Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yes, Sundarananda Prabhu. Yes, Sundarananda Prabhu. You have to unmute the Krishna, who is unmuted. Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, Sundarananda Prabhu.
Maharaj, what a wonderful lecture. In the 20th verse, Queen Kunti is saying that even the great sages are bewildered, and how as a woman I can not be bewildered. And then Srila Prabhupada in his purport says that women by lesser intelligence, how can they be not bewildered by this form? So in that sense, I understand that there is always this question about women being less intelligent. And one of the ways I've heard about the explanation is that it is about the feminine qualities which could be present in either gender. So that's being referred to. But what's your view on this, Maharaj, about this aspect?
Yeah. The main consideration is that intelligence is not such an important factor when it comes to devotion. It's the love that matters. Intelligence and emotion, right? In loving relationship, emotion is prevalent. Emotion is more important, not intelligence. So it's better to be less intelligent because when they become too intelligent, they actually dig their own grave at times. Hare Krishna. And another point in that respect is that actually when it comes to devotion, women are better off. Because in loving affairs, the women's, it's a matter of heart. And their head may be weak, but their heart is stronger. Right? So therefore, in that game, they have a better chance of winning. Thank you. So I'll stop now. So if you all have any question, please keep it writing. And tomorrow I will take those questions. And tomorrow I'll go longer even, in the sessions. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, and everybody for joining the call today with School of Bhakti here at Bhakti Charu Maharaj. What a wonderful discourse, again, delivered by His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj, our Guru Maharaj. It's also very nice to see everybody joined on the call. We'll continue again tomorrow, same time, 11:30. We'll start the sessions, and we'll hear the last part of our sessions of this discourse. Also, as you know, we've got on the 8th and 9th and 10th of May, the May Bank Holiday Retreat that's coming up. We're just finalizing all of the details on that, and the registrations for that will come out in the next day or two. Okay, everybody, thank you. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we shall see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj.